So it's still cold here in East Tennessee where I'm at, and we still have a little bit of snow on the ground. That 2 to 3 inches of snow that you see behind me has literally kept school closed for 2 weeks in these parts. So for those of you listening in other parts of the world where snow doesn't stop you in your tracks, and you just keep moving with your day and your kids go to school and you go to work. We don't in this part of the world. That little bit of snow behind us can stop us dead in our tracks and has now for 2 weeks. My kids have ended up with a month off for Christmas break. So I don't know when they'll be going back, but I had to come outside and enjoy the sunshine anyway, and enjoy the crisp air, because it does feel good. Even though it's cool out here, it does feel good to be outside. And I wanted to talk about Joe Biden's farewell speech. To be honest with you, I've kind of been dreading it. I was telling Coach D earlier in the live that we did, the amount of time between Election Day and today seems like it's been 2 years. It seems like the longest period of time ever. And maybe it's because we realize just how closer we're getting to a second Donald Trump term, and the anxiety is there, and we're trying to hang on to what was left of America for just a little bit longer. We got a few more days before Trump takes office. I'm not going to be watching it. I'm not going to be tuning in any way. I'm actually going to be going live on my channel and talking about a new album's worth of material that I'm going to be releasing on that day. That's what I'm going to be doing on Inauguration Day, is releasing new music into the world, giving people something else to listen to instead of listening to Donald Trump and his train wreck of a presidency that's headed our way. I did want to talk a minute, though, about Joe Biden's farewell speech. And I want to start off by saying this. I truly do appreciate Joe Biden and his service to this country. I truly do believe that had he not came along in 2020 when he did, I don't know that we'd still be here today. I really feel like that he pulled us back from the brink of destruction and turned this country around. And he did so with media going out of their way to demonize him and his stutter every step of the way. He did so with every right-wing bro podcaster making it their whole identity to crucify him on a daily basis. And he still continued to put in the work, and he did so in a more quiet manner, and maybe to a fault. I mean, I do believe that one of the things that got Trump over was he will go out there no matter what, and he will hold a press conference. If he takes a shit, he will hold a press conference to talk about what a wonderful shit that he took that day. And Joe Biden lifted us up out of a dark time in American history, got us through it, but he didn't go out there and thump his chest. Now, reasonable people could look at that and admire it and see it as a symbol of strength, but we have a whole lot of unreasonable people in this world who wants to have everything gave to them instantly. They want all the problems to be solved instantly, and they believe that they're going to be solved instantly Monday when Trump puts his hand on the Bible and swears to protect, preserve, and defend the Constitution that he also said he would terminate whenever he's seen fit. They think on that day that everything is going to be magically cured. And they're in for a rude awakening. Some of them are already waking up and going, wait a minute, how is changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico going to help lower their grocery bill? Exactly, it's not. And they're about to learn that the hard way. But I want to play you a clip here. I could play many clips from the Biden speech. I could sit here and play the whole thing and just react to it as we went. But I wanted to focus on this part right here, because I really feel like that in years to come, this is going to be the one people looks back at. This will be like Dwight Eisenhower warning about the military-industrial complex. This will be the ultimate I told you so moment. And I want to focus on this one, and we'll talk more about it. But take a look.
In his farewell address, President Eisenhower spoke of the dangers of the military-industrial complex. He warned us then about, and I quote, the potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power, end of quote. 6 decades later, I'm equally concerned about the potential rise of a tech-industrial complex that could pose real dangers for our country as well. Americans are being buried under an avalanche of misinformation and disinformation, enabling the abuse of power. The free press is crumbling. Editors are disappearing. Social media is giving up on fact-checking. The truth is smothered by lies told for power and for profit. We must hold the social platforms accountable to protect our children, our families, and our very democracy from the abuse of power. Meanwhile, artificial intelligence is the most consequential technology of our time, perhaps of all time. Nothing offers more profound possibilities and risks for our economy and our security, our society. It's for humanity. Artificial intelligence even has the potential to help us answer my call to end cancer as we know it. But unless safeguards are in place, AI could spawn new threats to our rights, our way of life, to our privacy, how we work, and how we protect our nation. We must make sure AI is safe and trustworthy and good for all humankind. In the age of AI, it's more important than ever that the people must govern. And as the land of liberty, America, not China, must lead the world in the development of AI.
Yeah, just bookmark that clip and keep it, because you're going to be seeing a whole lot more of it in years to come. I do believe our grandchildren will see that clip in years to come. It's truly sad to see how Americans were duped. It's truly sad to see how everything that MAGA ever feared that Joe Biden was, they voted for it and fell for it hook, line, and sinker. We heard them constantly talk about big tech and how we had to keep big tech out of politics, and then they allowed big tech to buy politics and own it, lock, stock, and barrel. And we have set back now, and we're going to watch everything that we ever worked for in this country just hang in the balance, and we don't know where we're headed with it. I don't mean to sound all doom and gloom and hyperbolic, I truly don't. But we are headed into uncertain times, and I would be a liar if I said that we weren't. I wouldn't feel comfortable sitting here telling you, oh, everything's going to be okay. All I can say is that we have to continue to put the work in, and we have to continue to stand up for what this country was originally founded on and meant to be. And we're going to be in for the long haul, because we are up against big tech now. We are up against the richest men in the world controlling the politics and controlling the narrative. And it's going to be very hard, but we're going to have to continue to put the work in. People ask me every day, Brando, how did we lose this one? How did we let it get away from us? Well, at the end of the day, I really believe it's because we lost the culture wars. I sit here day in and day out in this chair talking about the culture wars and how ridiculous they were and how that they didn't affect people's lives in my part of the world. I saw people in my part of the world get upset over drag shows that they were never going to attend. I saw people in my part of the world get upset over some product that Target was selling when they didn't even shop there. I saw them get upset over Starbucks when they never even drank it. I saw them get upset and pour out Bud Light, which is something I never thought I'd see a redneck do. And I kept sitting there saying to him, these things aren't affecting you in your day-to-day lives. These things have nothing to do with the way you live. This radical left that you worry about has no control over you. They don't have the presidency. They don't have the Supreme Court. They don't have the Senate. They don't have the House. But guess who does now? The radical right. They do. And their ideas and what they're going to implement will affect you and your life. It's going to affect you when your parents lose their health care, when your parents lose their pensions, when you lose it yourself, and you have to sit there and figure out how to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. That used to be an old Republican cliche that's going to come back and really bite them hard in their ass when suddenly, crap, I got to pull myself up by the boots, but I really don't even have any boots anymore because they took them from me. All the culture wars they fought were completely in vain, because they fought for all that and they think they've won something, and they didn't. Instead, now their daughter's future is darker than ever. They sit there and they pissed away their daughter's rights while they poured out their Bud Light and didn't even realize they were doing it. They sit there and they pissed away everything that people worked so hard to put in place, and they didn't even realize it. When we tried to tell them what Project 2025 was all about, oh no, Brando, Trump ain't got nothing to do with that. He said he ain't got nothing to do with that. Well, you believed it. But that's exactly who's in control now, and that's exactly what they're putting in place. And I could sit here and say I told you so, and I will be. For as long as I have a platform, I'll be sitting here saying I told you so. People will be going back and playing these clips, and I truly do believe we will be circling back to that clip of Joe Biden right there when he warned about what is happening. And we sit back and watch the very people that feared it the most are the ones that put it in power. And they did it by being distracted by all this bullshit that was never going to have any effect on their lives. We tried to point out racism. Well, you're just woke for pointing it out. We tried to point out the bigotry. We tried to point out the lies and the corruption, and we got called woke. And we got called every name under the sun. We got called the enemy from within just for trying to point out that they were coming straight for you. Joe Rogan sits and talks about how that Donald Trump wouldn't have had a chance. I mean, the mainstream media was so cruel to Donald Trump. His freedom of speech was taken like nobody else. And I'm sitting there going, Joe, he was on television every day in front of a microphone. It has been ever since he came down the escalator. He's never shut up. He's never stopped talking. Who took away his free speech? Oh, he wouldn't have had a chance because the mainstream media was so cruel to him. No, the mainstream media didn't hold him to account. The mainstream media just sat there and played right into his hand. They were the Vince McMahon to his Steve Austin. They all made money and laughed their way all the way to the bank. And Joe Rogan says, oh, well, he would have never had the chance if not for podcasts and for social media. Well, now one of the richest dudes in the world has bought all that, and he's censoring who he wants to censor, and he's silencing who he wants to silence. He's taking away check marks from people that now are rattling his chain. Everything they ever feared, everything Joe Rogan sit there and, wow, Jamie, pull that up. Did you hear about that? It happened to you, Joe, and you enabled it. Everything you feared would happen, you paved the way for. And as long as I have a platform, I'll be here calling it out. I may not have the platform that Joe Rogan has, but as long as I have one, I'll be here calling out that son of a bitch paved the way for every bit of this by normalizing it and by same-washing it and acting like it was all okay. So if they're truly for free speech, I'll still have a platform. If they're truly for free speech, they won't have a problem with anything I said, right? We'll see how far it goes. But I truly do appreciate y'all for being here with me and being on the right side of history and standing up here and fighting this madness, and we will continue to do so. We will continue to do so because just because they got the election does not mean that they were right. It doesn't matter how many people believes a lie, it's still a lie. We still have the truth on our side, and we still are on the right side of history, and we won't back down. So there was Joe Biden's farewell address, and that was my moment of like, we're headed into this full throttle. And this is what we're going to do. We're going to roll up our sleeves, and we're going to keep putting in the work. And it's going to be a uncertain road. I can't tell you that it's going to be always going to be sunshine and rainbows. Right now, the sun's still shining, and it's a beautiful day here. It's a little bit cool, but I'm enjoying it. But we're headed into some dark times, and we're just going to have to keep rolling up our sleeves and fighting like hell. We really are. And so that's what we will do. And I appreciate y'all for coming along with this ride with me, and I appreciate Joe Biden for his service to this country. And as he leaves office, I'm reminded of an old song by the Flying Burrito Brothers called Sin City. And this song went through my head when Barack Obama left office. And it's going through my head even more so with Joe Biden. And the last line of the song says, a friend came around. He tried to clean up this town. His ideas made some people mad. But he trusted in his crowd, so he spoke right out loud, and they lost the best friend they had.